What's up, big baller shot callers? Big Ken here. I'm going solo today. A lot of my colleagues are out. Monty, Brandon, Dwayne, all got stuff going on. So it's just me today. But my colleagues will be back next week for another show. But what we're going to talk about today is talk a little bit about the WNBA draft. Caitlin Clark going number one, and other players getting drafted. Talk about the NBA men's play-in games, and also some. I'll discuss some first round picks. Viewers, my question to you guys is, who do you guys win in the first round? Who do you guys have win the NBA championship overall? What do you think about the WNBA draft? What do you think about the WNBA in general? Do you guys think it's going to grow? Um, Also, another topic I might hit up on today is a lot of big name NBA players are hurt for the first round of the NBA playoffs. Some might miss the entire playoffs, but big names are hurt. Jimmy Butler got hurt. Zion Williamson got hurt after his first playoff game. He had a great playoff game in his first one of his career, 40 points. Giannis is hurt for a couple of weeks. It looks like he's probably gonna miss the first round. And there's a few others. I believe Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers is hurt. So a lot of big name players are hurt right now in the playoffs. Some are out for the year, and some, you know, are out just for a little bit. And hopefully their teams can hold on. I also believe Julius Randle is hurt, and he got hurt last year in the playoffs. So I think he's hurt again. So yeah, a lot of players are hurt, man. So hopefully they all got good benches and players that can step up. But first topic for today, let's get into the WNBA draft. Caitlin Clark was the number one overall pick. She went to the Indiana Fever. She's joining Aaliyah Boston, who obviously was a rival player. She played at South Carolina, and Caitlin Clark and Iowa Hawkeyes knocked out the mighty South Carolina, women's basketball team in the Final Four last year. So they're going to be teammates. Aaliyah Boston was the rookie of the year for the WNBA. There's also really good players that play for the Indiana Fever. They're kind of like a rising team. Kelsey Mitchell, who is the number 4 scorer in women's college basketball. So she's another prolific scorer, just like Caitlin Clark, obviously being number 1. But Kelsey Mitchell is no slouch, being the number 4 all-time leading scorer. She could put up points. Some other notable mentions was Camilia Cardoso from South Carolina, the big girl, 6'7" girl from South Carolina. She went number 3 to the Chicago Sky. And another big one is Angel Reese went number 7, and she went to the Chicago Sky also. So there was no doubt in my mind the Chicago Sky have no problems on their inside game. I don't know how the rest of their team is on the outside, but I know they got Candace Parker, I believe. She's been in WNBA for a long time, and she was a WNBA, rookie of the year and MVP for the season during her rookie year, like 10, 12 years ago. She's getting older, but she's still a pretty good player. So that's a couple of big names that got drafted in the first round. Caitlin Clark's teammate Kate Martin got drafted in the second round. I was thinking she might go, but wasn't sure because she had a pretty good fifth year season. She averaged double digits. Her only season average in double digits for the Hawkeyes, but she played really well this year. She showed out. She looked like a good number 2 to back up and support, Caitlin Clark, being the number 1 player for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But yeah, what do you guys think about the NBA draft? See, here's another question. This is something there's something that's been plaguing me. I don't know what to think about this. In my opinion, just my opinion, WNBA is a little bit political, but they have the reasons because one, they don't make nowhere near what the men's counterpart make. For example, Caitlin Clark is going to make $76,000 her rookie season for the WNBA, but she will make millions off of endorsements. So she is getting money from other places with her endorsements, but only $76,000 for the WNBA. I think she signed a 4-year contract for I don't know the exact amount, but it was like 340,000 or something like that for 4 years, her rookie contract. But the league minimum in the NBA for men is like $1 million, a little bit over. So Caitlin Clark is the number one player in the draft. She's making 76,000, and a guy that doesn't get much playing time in the NBA league minimum is making $1 million a year. So that is interesting. That's what, in some reasons, why the WNBA is political. So I get it from that standpoint, but at the same time, I think for whatever reason, and this isn't against you women, women's sports just hasn't been as exciting as the men's for most people, but it's getting exciting. Caitlin Clark has made it exciting. She's one player that's made it exciting, along with Angel Reese and Juju Watkins and Paige Buckers and the girl at Stanford, the number 2 pick. I can't remember her name, but the 6'4" girl from Stanford. She's a really good player. I think her name's Cameron Brink. There we go. She got drafted number 2, by the way. I forgot to mention that, but so there's a lot of exciting players in women's college basketball, which could translate to the WNBA. So I think it's going to help. I do think the money will increase for the WNBA as time goes on. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camilia Cardoso, these players are obviously going to help this out. Paige Buckers decided to go back to UConn for her senior year, but she'll be in the WNBA probably next year as long as she stays healthy, which I hope she does, because she's had some health issues at UConn, which set her back a little bit, but she had a really nice bounce back season this year. And UConn women made it back to the Final Four. But we'll see. Like I said, nothing against women, but I just think the endorsements aren't quite there like it is for men's sports, because throughout the history of time, like, people just haven't paid much attention to women's sports. But it's changing. It's changing, women. It's changing, ladies. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it is changing. And Caitlin Clark is a big part of this change. That's why I'm surprised why some people don't like Caitlin Clark. That's my thing. That's nothing I wanted to bring up. It's been on my mind for the past couple of weeks. Obviously, a lot of it's jealousy. But here's one thing about the WNBA, and I'll say this, and I could be completely wrong, but it's just my opinion. If the WNBA accepts Caitlin Clark, I think their league can grow, and their attendance will go up. Their TV viewer ratings will go up like crazy, because they want to watch Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, especially if they match up when they play against each other in the WNBA, and so that's going to be big. But if the WNBA does not accept Caitlin Clark, because she's not like a lot of them, because the WNBA talks about inclusion. Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm kind of suspicious on it. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm suspicious. If they don't treat Caitlin Clark well over the next couple of years, that's only if, I think the WNBA will fall. Will it completely go away? No, but they'll go right back to square one, and not many people are going to pay attention to them. But if they accept Caitlin Clark for who she is, then like I said, I think they'll grow, because Caitlin Clark, one, she's a white player. I mean, obviously there's a lot of white women in WNBA, so she's not the only one. But she's not gay. She's straight. She's a Catholic girl, so she's Christian. That's my fear for Caitlin Clark. I don't know if it's true or not true. Like, nothing's happening yet. So far, it seems pretty good. Like, they accept her, and it seems like everything's okay. I know, like, the Indiana Fever is really excited to get her. And this is another thing about the WNBA growing. Their season tickets, I think, have already sold out or something, and they already have, like, they're already going to televise almost all their games on TV this year. And last year they only had 2 or 3, games nationally televised, but almost like their entire season is being nationally televised. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. So obviously that's going to bring money into WNBA. So like I'm saying, I don't know, because nothing's happened yet. So I'm not saying anything's happened. I'm just suspicious. Because 3 years ago, there was a former Republican senator. I think her name was Kelly something, Load something. But anyways, you look it up. She was part of the Atlanta Dream. I don't think she's completely innocent, because she stood on her political views, being a former Republican senator. She was against the BLM movement in the WNBA. I think she has a right to her opinion on that, but at the same time, she could be wrong if she's telling WNBA players they can't do something, because whether you're white, black, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, don't care either way. People have a right to support whatever cause they're supporting. So I don't know what the full story on that was, if she was telling her players that they couldn't do it, but I know she didn't like it. I know she sent a letter into the WNBA commissioner about her opposing them supporting BLM. I know that much. I know she has a right to her opinion, but she doesn't have a right to her players. If she said this, telling them they can't do stuff. I mean, because they could do whatever they want as long as they're not breaking the law. So I think that situation is kind of 50-50. But she's not owner of the Atlanta Dream anymore. They kind of like I would say kind of like in a way forced her out. That's kind of like my problem with the WNBA. Like I don't want to get into politics too much here because this isn't a political show. But I know the last couple shows we got into some political subjects. That's because it's the WNBA and there's a lot of politics in the WNBA. So I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50, but she kind of got forced out. She sold the team, so obviously she's well off. She was already rich anyway. Came from a lot of money. Now she's even richer, so she's not hurting financially by any means. It might be more healthier for her to be out of the WNBA anyway, because she's going to get a lot of ridicule there, and so it might be better for both sides that she is gone in the long run. But anyways, I find that interesting though. That's all. That's why I have suspicions about the WNBA, but like I said, I don't have all facts on the situation. It's just interesting. I think I'm not the only person who thinks that. So maybe that's why they don't get quite the TV coverage and people going to their games. And plus, like I said, I think the main reason is just most people haven't followed women's sports in America since the beginning of time. But now it looks like they might start, which is I'm really happy for the women if they can build this thing. But I think it's all going to depend on how well they treat Caitlin Clark. Because if they give her a cold shoulder because she has different beliefs than them, I think they are completely wrong. Because I think we all have different beliefs. And for example, me being a football official, I don't ask the coach, I don't ask the players, hey, what religion are you? Like what political, like are you a Republican or Democrat? Are you straight? Are you gay? We don't ask those things, and for obvious reasons. We just officiate the game fairly, and it shouldn't matter. And I don't think it should matter in the WNBA either. So that's kind of like my thing with them. So but we shall see. We shall see. Right now, it looks like everything's going well, and the WNBA can take off. All right, let's get into some NBA. Let's get to the NBA side. Play-in games. A couple years ago, viewers, what's your thoughts on this? A couple years ago, the NBA decided to make play-in games. My best friend and my colleague, who does this show with me a lot, Monty, we talked about this last year during our first round NBA show, about what the thoughts of the play-in games. Me, I personally don't like them. I think we already have it a 7 and 8 seed. So why are we doing play-in games to determine the overall 7th and 8th seed? Like we already have it. Only way I think there should be games if there's like a tiebreaker game to get the last spot, the eighth spot, the 8th seed. That's just me, but my colleague and best friend Monty brought up a good point where NBA commissioners trying to do something different. It could bring in TV ratings. They're spinning it up a little bit. They're spinning it up a little bit different compared to the same old, same old. So he has a good point. So I think it's 50-50, but I think like they already played 82 games, and if you can't play good enough for an 82 game season to make the 7th or 8th seed, then better luck next year. It is what it is. But this year, the 9 and 10, no 9 or 10 seeds made the 8, 7, 8 seed. Both 7th and 8th seeds ended up making the final spot in the playoffs. A couple of them lost their first game, but they won the second, and so they got their spots. Actually, both 7 seeds won their first game. The Lakers and 76ers won their first play-in game, so they were automatically in. And then both 8 seeds, the Miami Heat and can't remember who the other team was. Oh, the Pelicans. The Miami Heat and the Pelicans both lost their first play-in games, but they both won their second ones to get the 8th seed. So this year, the original 7th and 8th seed stayed the 7th and 8th seed. So the 9 or 10 seeds did not take over the 7th or 8th seed spot. So it worked out. Let's talk about some of these injuries I was mentioning in the show, Zion Williamson has 40 points against the Lakers. I mean, the Pelicans are getting blown out, but they make this really good comeback, and Zion Williamson has 40 points. Very unfortunate. You know, the Lakers won the game, but Zion Williamson gets hurt. He pulls his hamstring. He's out for 2 weeks. Um, they are an 8 seed playing against the 1 seed, the OKC Thunder, which I'll talk about later for my predictions. But that's going to hurt them, obviously, because they're an underdog big time and they don't have their best, arguably one of their best players playing. So I feel bad for Zion Williamson. This was his debut playoff game, his first one in his career. He played really well and he gets hurt late in the game after scoring 40 points. But the Lakers went off. So I will cover the stats real quick for that. The Lakers won the game 110-106, so it was very close. LeBron James had 23 points. He was only 6 out of 20 from the field goal, but he was 10 out of 10 from the free throw line for his 23 points. So LeBron James has always been a little bit suspicious on the three-point line, but he had a very good game, 10 for 10, perfect. So that was surprising to me. Anthony Davis has 15 rebounds, 20 points. Russell came up big, 21 points. AR-15, they like to call Austin Reeves AR-15 Lakers fans. He had 16 points, and Hachimura, one of my favorite players since he's half Japanese, my wife's Japanese, he has 13 points. So Lakers had some pretty good balanced scoring there. Brandon Ingram only had 11 points, like arguably one of their best players was Zion Williamson. Like I said, Zion Williamson had the 40. Brandon Ingram only had 11, but he did have a really good game 2 bounce back into playing games to get them in the playoffs. So I'll cover that later. Larry Nance Jr. had 12 points or 12 rebounds. And CJ McCollum only had 9 points. He could have played better. But so the Lakers won that game. Here's the thing with the Lakers. They were 7th seed last year, and they make it all the way to the conference finals. So fans and viewers, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think they can get all the way to the conference finals again as a 7th seed? I don't know. They have a very tough matchup, a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals with Denver Nuggets, so it's going to be hard. But what's your thoughts on that? But they had to get past the first round first, obviously, and we'll see how far they can go if they can do that. But I personally think they won't be able to do it again. But they do obviously got LeBron James and they got Anthony Davis and they got some other nice, players that can add in some points, some nice third and fourth scoring. So it will be interesting to say the least. But what's your thoughts on that? Play-in game with the Kings and Warriors. This was a big one for me. The Kings win their first play-in game, but they lost their second. But they win their first one. They beat the Warriors 118-94. Most notable thing in this game was for the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson has 0 points. 0 points. I mean, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry have been the Splash Brothers for like a dozen years or so. A long time, and they've always been really good together. I can't believe Klay Thompson had 0 points. That just killed the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry finished the game with 22 points. Kuminga, who's a really rising star for the Golden State Warriors and in the league, had 16 points. Wiggins had 12, and Draymond Green had 12. Wiggins did not have a good year like he has had in the past. That's probably another thing that hurt them. Wiggins hasn't been quite the same that he was in their championship run a couple years ago, so he's not as good or didn't play as good this year. But Warriors got blown out big time. They lost by 20 plus points. They got whooped. But a lot of Kings players really went off in this game. Murray had 32 points. Harrison Barnes, who seems like he's been in the league forever, the ex-North Carolina, Tar Heels player, he's getting older, but he still has 17 points, which is pretty dang good. But he's been in the league for a long time. Sabonis, a really solid big man, has 15 points. Fox, the Kentucky star, has 24 points. So they had some pretty good scoring, man. The Kings are a team of the future. We said this last year. Kings made the playoffs 2 years in a row. At least they made the play-in games 2 years in a row. So they're, I think, a rising team. They didn't quite make the playoffs this year. Last year they did make the playoffs, and they took the Golden State Warriors in the first round all the way to 7 games, and then Steph Curry scores 50 points in Game 7 to to win the game 7. It was very unfortunate for the Kings, last year. But I like them though. They're a rising team, so they just got to figure out a way to be a little more consistent. I think their inconsistency hurts them. That's why they're playing a playing game instead of having a solid spot in the playoffs. Not so they don't have to worry about playing games, but they're a rising team though, no doubt about it. Heat lose their first game, and the biggest story I want to cover on this, I forgot to mention it during my opening, but Heat lose this game by 1 point, 105-104. But after the game is what I want to talk about. First of all, Jimmy Butler gets hurt in this game. He sprains his MCL. He's probably not going to play the rest of the season. They say he's out for like 6 or 7 weeks, and the season isn't going to last that long. So he's probably out. He probably ain't coming back. But the interesting thing that happened was, I guess on the team bus, Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets, and Tyler Hero, one of their young, really good players, they almost get into a fist fight. Actually, Tyler Hero throws a punch. This is all, of course, rumorville, but it was online though. It was on some online discussions. Tyler Hero throws a punch, but he misses. And I guess the kind of the joke that Jimmy Butler made was like, you missed on that too, because Tyler Hero did score 27 points in that game and was the leading scorer, but his field goal percentage was I think 9 out of 28 for 27 points or something like that. And then Jimmy Butler's like, well, you missed on that too, kind of being a smart ass. So interesting. I don't know if they have a feud, like they had a feud for a couple of years. I don't know. I think overall they get along. So I don't know if this is something with them, because I don't know their relationship. But I think it's more just about Jimmy Butler being frustrated that they lost, because now they have to play a second playing game. He got hurt in that game, so that's probably another big part of it. He's hurt. He knows he's probably done for the season. They lose, and he's upset with Tyler Hero for missing a bunch of shots that he probably could have made, because he's a pretty good shooter. But these things happen, especially with shooters. So, but I didn't see this game to know if he was taking bad shots or not. That might have been part of it too. Maybe he's taking some really bad shots. He should have passed the ball more. Who knows? I think it's more just about frustration. But that was a storyline in that game, was this feud on the team bus with Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. So hopefully they're okay. But I know Tyler Hero played really well in their second playing game, which they won to make the playoffs. He scores 24 points again. This time shoots 50% from the field, has 10 rebounds. So he had a double-double. He played a lot better. So Tyler Hero did answer the call, in my opinion. So I have some stats on that game, but I won't, get into it because we're running out of time here. But but the Miami Heat they lost the first one, but Miami Heat wins, the second one. Next playing game, the Bulls and the Hawks. The Bulls win it. That was a 9 versus a 10 seed. The Hawks were the 9 seed. The Bulls were 10. The Bulls did this exact same thing last year. They were a 10 seed, and they win their first playing game. They lose their second. They do the exact same thing. One notable thing I will say about the Bulls for game 1, was Kobe White, a former North Carolina player, scores 42 points. The big reason why they win, of course, their main player, DeRozan, has 22 points. But this guy, Kobe White, really young player in the NBA, scores 42 points. The big reason why they win the game. And the Hawks are just the Hawks. The Hawks haven't been in the playoffs, it seems like, forever. And if they do, they lose early. So no offense to Atlanta Hawks fans, but they just can't get basketball figured out down there, or any sport really lately the past 3 or 4 years with their football team and their basketball team. So no offense, Atlanta fans, but yeah, they haven't had too many good sports teams down there in recent years, unfortunately for them. But and like I said, but the Bulls get blown out yesterday against the Heat. They get blown out by 20 yesterday against the Heat. And the one player I want to talk about for the Heat was obviously, like I said, Tyler Hero has 24 points and 10 rebounds. But the other player who I really like, the rookie from UCLA, Jaime Jaquez, has 21 points. I don't know if he's going to be rookie of the year. I don't know who all the really good rookies are, but he's got to be in the conversation. Like I said, I haven't followed the NBA enough this year to know what other rookies are really standing out, but I do know it seems like every time I turn on the TV, or look at stats, Jaime Jaquez is doing really well. And I liked him at UCLA, so he's kind of a young player that I'm following. Jaime Jaquez is a beast. He's kind of a jack of all trades. I knew he would be good in the NBA because he's a good defender. He's like 6'6" or 6'7", so he has good size. He's athletic. He could shoot from the outside, but he has a good enough dribble game, like a good he has good ball skills where he can take he has a good mid range shot, so he can get to his spots, and he's 6'6" or 6'7". Like I said, he has size, so he can shoot over people. Um, and he shoot threes, and he's a good rebounder. He has a good all around game. Is what I'm saying. Like I really like Jaime Jaquez. He's a young player to follow in the NBA. Just like I said about the Sacramento Kings, have a really good young overall team, but Jaime Jaquez is a really good player for the Miami Heat, and he's playing with a very good coach. Spoelstra is a great coach, one of the best coaches I think in the NBA. He's up there. Spoelstra is a very good coach, so he's in good hands. Um, Unfortunately for the Kings, they lose their second playing game, and the Pelicans win their second playing game after losing the first one. So the Pelicans are the 8th seed. Like I said in the opening comments, Brandon Ingram played much better. First game, he only has 11 points. This game, he has 24 points. They have multiple players in double digits. They got balanced scoring all over the place. Murphy has 16 points. Um, Alvarado has 10 points. Marshall has 11 points. Larry Nance Jr. has 13 points. Their bench scores, I think, a tremendous amount of points. Like their bench played really well in this game. I mean, really, really well. That's one thing that stood out to me. That's probably was the difference in the game was the Pelicans bench was much better than the Kings bench, and Brandon Ingram played a lot better. But people still played well for the Kings, though. This was a close game. The score was 105-98, so it wasn't a blowout game. It was very close throughout. Harrison Barnes again has 17 points. Murray has 11. Sabonis has 23. Fox puts in, I can't remember if that's 25 or 35. So they scored their points. Like I said, I think the Pelicans bench just did better, and that was the difference in the game. And the Pelicans make the eighth seed for the West. All right, predictions. Um, I'll start with the East first. Number 1 Celtics versus number 8 Heat. We all know what the number 8 Heat. They were the 8th seed last year, and the Heat get all the way to the NBA Finals and lose to the Denver Nuggets in 5 games. They almost made history to be an 8th seed to win an NBA championship. They were close. They get there and they just ran out of gas, and they lose 4 out of 5 games, but they had a great season last year. I mean, that made people get very interested in the NBA. TV ratings were a lot higher because of it, because they were a big underdog and people like underdogs, and Jimmy Butler, the history of his career, he's an underdog too. So with a lot of things that happened with him in his life, so a lot of people are following the Heat, but Celtics got this. I think they're suspicious in the playoffs as a whole, but they're not suspicious in the first round. Are the Heat a dangerous team? Yes, they are. But Jimmy Butler is hurt. He's not coming back the rest of the season. Jaime Jaquez is a good rookie, but they're not going to have enough. They might get swept. The Heat might be able to win 1 game, but the Celtics could end up, sweeping them. It'll be a 4 or 5 game series. It's not going to be a game 7. If it does, I'll be shocked. Like I said, Celtics have their issues in the playoffs, but they're not have the issues in the first round. Jason Tatum and all those guys, I mean, they got too much, man. So yeah, I got Celtics all the way. Knicks and 76ers, 2 versus 7 seed in the playoffs. Knicks got this. This might be another sweep. 76ers don't have much in the playoffs. They have Joel Embiid, but he's been hurt half the year. He always has injury issues. Knicks, Jalen Brunson's tough. That Villanova connection. They got 3 players all played at Villanova together, and they're back again as teammates on the New York Knicks. They're tough. And I saw Jalen Brunson play live. I went to the New York Knicks and Portland Trailblazers game a month ago, and that dude is for real. Like, he scored like 40 some points in this game. Me and my son went. He went crazy. Jalen Brunson is is becoming a big time player in the NBA. So I got the Knicks all the way in this one. Like it could be a sweep. Like Sixers might win one game, but this is just like the Celtics and Heat. Like it's gonna go 4 or 5 games only. Um, Number 3, Bucks versus 6 Pacers. This is interesting because Giannis is hurt. He might miss the entire first round. But the Bucks still have Damian Lillard. They have Middleton. You know, uh they got another the guy, the ex Duke player, Grayson Allen. Or that might be the Phoenix Suns. Like, I'm sorry, I can't remember which team. Grayson Allen used to play for the Bucks. I think I'm getting confused, but they still have Bucks have a deep team. Anyways, they have their playoff issues also, but their playoff issues are in the second round. I don't know too much about the Pacers, so since I don't know much about the Pacers, this is a tough one because the Bucks are suspicious in the playoffs. They don't have Giannis. But like I said, their issues are in the second round. So I'll stick with the 3 Bucks to win this game. But it could go 6 or 7 games. This will probably be a much closer series. And so this one, Pacers might be good enough to pull off the upset. I just don't know a lot about them. So I'm gonna go with I know the Bucks. So I'm gonna go. That's why I'm going with the Bucks. And Damian Lillard is a very, 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 very good player. And he makes big shots. He could will them to some wins. So I got the Bucks. Cavs Magic, they already finished their first game. I believe the Cavs won. I'm going to look it up right now. I'm looking up right now, so give me a second here. I apologize. There's a second game going on right now too, but yeah, Cavs win the game today 97-83. So Cavs are up 1-0. This is a 4-5 matchup, so this is always very interesting. But I think Donovan Mitchell and company, they have a lot of really good players besides Mitchell, but obviously Mitchell being their number one guy. They kind of laid an egg last year against the Knicks in round one. That was a 4 or 5 seed matchup also, I believe. But I think the Cavaliers will bounce back. So I got the Cavaliers win this series probably in 6 games, but it'll be close because it is a 4 or 5 seed, matchup. But I got the Cavs. I think they'll bounce back nicely from last year. All right, let's get to the West. Number 1, OKC Thunder, kind of a surprise team this year versus the Pelicans. They have a lot. Thunder has a lot of young talent. Yeah, they're really taking off. I did not expect them to be a number 1 seed this year. I don't think anybody did. But Zion Williamson is hurt for 2 weeks. That's really going to hurt them. Brandon Ingram, they're just not going to have enough. Thunder will win. I think Pelicans could get a game from them, though. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think Pelicans might be able to get one game because this is a OKC Thunder first time in the playoffs in a while. So they might have some nerves. I don't think they have a whole lot of playoff experience, but they're too talented, and I don't think the number 1 seed will lose to the 8. You never know because it happened last year, with the Miami Heat knocking off the number 1 seed in the East last year. But I don't think it'll happen though. I got Thunder winning this in probably like 5 games. Here's the most intriguing matchup that everyone wants to talk about. Number 2, Denver Nuggets, the defending NBA champions from last year versus the 7 seed Lakers. Like I said, this is a rematch from the Western Conference Finals last year. Lakers got swept last year, 4-0. And to my knowledge, Lakers have lost every game this season to the Denver Nuggets in the regular season. I think they lost 6 or 7 games to the Denver Nuggets. Lakers do have obviously LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, Hachimura, Russell. They have a very good team, but I don't know why they're not playing very good. Because last like 2 or 3 seasons, they just seem to barely squeak into the playoffs after they won their, championship during the COVID year when they're playing at the Disney Resort. They haven't been, in my opinion, very good since then. Some people think Lakers can make an upset. They're definitely good enough to make an upset with the players they got, especially LeBron James, King James. But Denver Nuggets are solid. I don't think Denver Nuggets will win an NBA championship 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row, but I don't see them losing in the first round though either. But this is probably the most intriguing matchup. This is probably the most viewed series of all the first round games because of all the players and of course the rematch from last year. But I think Lakers will make it interesting. But I think the Nuggets will win in a 6 or 7 game series. I think the Lakers will continue to struggle against Denver like they have all year, just like I did last year too. So Nuggets, I think. Sorry, Monty and Dwayne, my two really good friends, are big Lakers fans. So I apologize. They're my colleagues on this show, but I got the Nuggets. Obviously, they want the Lakers to win because that's their team, but I got the Nuggets in 6 or 7. Timberwolves Suns. Um, I got the six Suns pulling off an upset. I wouldn't call it much for an upset though because they have Kevin Durant, they got Devin Booker, they have other nice players. Um, you know, they have Bradley Bill. I mean, they have a really good squad. For some reason, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to figure out this year, but they're a very dangerous 6 seed team though. And I think they will beat the Timberwolves. That could go to a game 7 though. I got the Suns pull off the upset in 7 games. The last matchup, 4 or 5 team Clippers versus Mavericks. Clippers got Kawhi Leonard hurt. It just seems like they've been hurt. They have like 2 or 3 big name players at the Clippers, and they just haven't been healthy the past. Paul George, like Clippers should be, Clippers have a good enough team to win an NBA championship. If those guys can be healthy, but they just haven't been healthy like 2 or 3 years in a row. They keep on getting hurt, man. Um, and I like Mavericks because they got Luka Doncic. I really like Luka. Obviously they got Kyrie Irving. They have other nice additions to their team. But this will be a close series. But I got the Mavericks win this series, and Dallas Mavericks win this series in 6 games. So that's NBA first round. Like I said, I'll close right now, but like I said, my colleagues and I will be back next. We'll be back for a second round show here in a couple of weeks, and we're also going to cover NFL draft here later on this upcoming week. So our next show will be NFL draft, and we'll get into some second round NBA coverage a couple weeks from now. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Like I said at the beginning of the show, please leave your comments about anything, whether you agree, disagree, how we can make the show better, who your picks are, who you think will win the NBA Finals, who you think is going to win the first round. What do you think about the WNBA with Caitlin Clark and just WNBA in general? Like, leave your comments. I'm hoping the WNBA would do well, like I said, but I'm a little bit suspicious about it. But I'm kind of pulling for them. I want the WNBA to do well because I hope they can, continue to make more money and kind of get more equal with their male counterparts. But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be very interesting how they handle the Caitlin Clark situation, in my opinion. But we shall see. But hopefully it works out for the WNBA. But like I said, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I'll see you guys next week for the the NFL draft. Peace out. Have a good day, people. Have a good weekend.